Could you show me how to say your name?
In Brazil they say Regis,
Yeah.
but I've given up my name.
Sabrosura pa' ti que.
Hola manis, bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenides a Café con Pam, donde compartimos nuestras historias con un cafecito. Yo soy Pam Covarrubias y te traemos historias inspiradoras de latinez de primera generación y gente de la mayoría global. Don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, toca la campanita para que nunca te pierdas de un episodio with us. Y bueno, if you want to listen to more incredible stories, check out our podcast, Café con Pam. Bueno, nuestra conversación del día de hoy is with Regis Terencio, a renowned Brazilian producer and actor known for his impactful storytelling and commitment to social change. With a career spanning over 2 decades, Regis has worked on a variety of projects in South America and in the US that explore critical social issues through the power of cinema. His notable works include the sci-fi thriller The Abandoned, set to be released by the Oscar-winning studio Lionsgate, and the groundbreaking documentary series Impact Hope, which sheds light on the struggles of Rwandan refugees. Regis is also the founder of Skaye, an entertainment and commercial fundraising company that partners with charities, celebrities, and brands to support local causes. Y bueno, ya no voy a atrasar más la entrevista. Aquí está mi conversación con Regis. Let's talk about The Abandoned. You were the producer and an actor about this movie, for this movie. And it's intense. So I got the
Yeah.
opportunity to watch it.
Mhm.
It's very intense.
Hopefully well.
So your character, well, first of all, how was it for you to be a character in the film and produce it?
Mhm. I was the producer since the early beginning. Yeah, Jason and I found the script, and then we got connected with the production company that produced it. But actually, the character that I played in the movie was not supposed to be me. It was supposed to be a Korean woman.
Okay.
But one of the first table readings that we did, we already had the main actor, Jonathan, and Tamara. We had both, but we didn't have the Korean woman.
Mm,
So I was at the table reading. I said, like, I'm gonna do the Korean woman, but I don't wanna, I'm just gonna do like a Brazilian man instead of a Korean woman. And they loved it. And they're like, oh well, we don't think we need a Korean woman. Can you do it? Like, sure, that would be fun. And
super fun.
yeah, and it was like even more fun because like in the script, whatever in the film, whatever I speak in Portuguese, I came up with those words because it was just like in the script, it was just like somebody speaking quickly in this other language. So I had like the freedom to come up with what my character would say, and that helped me to, to create these layers for my character that only Portuguese speaking audience
Yes.
will understand. And there's like little nugget that it's like some piece of information that would make a lot of sense, but only Portuguese speaking people will get it.
Yes. Eso actually happened because yo no falo portugués, pero one of my team members does. And so when she watched it and we talked about it, she told me the Brazilian man is trying to do this. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So it's like a good insider, which
Yeah.
I was wondering if you like kind of made up what he was saying, like his part of the script, which basically
I
you did.
I did. And also um like there are many different theories that you can think of for what is happening there. So like my character has his theory of what's happening.
Right.
And inside that theory, people that believe in that will understand things that
Right.
other people will not get it.
Totally.
So yeah, and then when I shared with with Dwayne, the writer, and Jason, the director. They're like, oh, that's so cool. We wish there were like subtitles in English, but
I know.
only.
I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So, but that was a good kind of like Easter egg
Yeah,
portion,
yeah,
that I had to reach out to someone who does speak Portuguese to get those like little pieces. And even if I didn't have anyone, I would have still, I mean, you still get the gist of it.
yeah, yeah. And then I think one more thing that Portuguese speaking people will like is that like one of the first interactions my character has with Miles. Miles says like, "Don't you speak English?" And then my
Hmm.
character says, "Don't you speak Portuguese?" But in
Right.
Portuguese, like, você não fala português? Like, why do I have to speak English?
Totally, which that was so good because I mean, there's so many things in the film that give kind of like, I think it's part of your work that gives this social justice
Mhm.
kind of like breath in it. And so that line was like, well, what makes you think that I have to speak
Yeah,
your language?
yeah, dude. We're in the same boat.
Totally. It's a very layered film, I think. I think I need to watch it a couple times to actually get also it's quite long, so we'll talk about the length. But what do you hope to for people who watch it to get from this? Because like you said, there could be, depending on who it is, they can build their own
Yeah,
perspective. So what's
yeah.
your goal with this?
So, I got involved with filmmaking storytelling because I am a strong believer that that quote from Plato that says, "Those who tell stories rule society." And I strongly believe in that. So like, I love films that has like social impact and all of that. So like this film for me is much more than a wounded soldier in a weird room. I think it's a lot more about the conflicts we have inside than the conflicts we have outside.
Hmm.
And it's a movie about life. It's a movie about chaos and trauma and how like different people react so differently in the same circumstance. And that the more desperate we are, the worse our decisions are. And yeah, I think it's so like I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's much for me it's much deeper than a soldier in a room. It's like
Absolutely.
about this room.
Yes. And one thing that I got is how everyone has a villain.
Yeah,
Because even thinking about the villain of the story, thinking about the hero's journey, the typical, storytelling arc, I was trying to find who's the villain, and I think it depends on what perspective you look at it from. Everyone has a different type of villain. Do you agree?
totally. And yeah, like how can I say this without giving
I know.
any
It's hard.
I think I just have to say I agree.
Let's go into the length of it because given that we live in the time of 60-second reels and TikToks,
Mm.
this is a film that's two and a half, 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's a bit on the longer side. Was that something that you considered?
It's an hour and it's 90 minutes, an hour
It's
and
90
30.
minutes. I
Yeah.
don't know why in my thing.
It just felt too long for you.
Probably because I was trying to analyze it. So I was
Yeah,
making
yeah.
notes. I was trying to figure out when the Portuguese man came and what is happening here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
No, but it was one of the challenges as well. Is like, how do you make a movie that is one room and one actor, to be engaging like throughout the entire film? You don't have anywhere to cut to.
mm,
So like every little thing in that room, like the sounds, the texture, the light, everything had to be its own character.
totally.
Um, so yeah, I think even the score, like we literally had these conversations with the composer Jeff, like the score is a character. So like we crafted the score as like, yeah, we just it was part of the production process to keep the film engaging throughout.
For sure. It almost felt like the setting of a play because it's almost like one scene,
Oh, yeah.
and it is, I mean, I'm sure it was somewhat difficult. Was that the most difficult to make sure that throughout the whole story, because you were technically in one scene,
Yeah.
like how do you make sure that people are still in it?
Yeah. I mean, there was like so many things combined. Like everything has to be on point to not lose people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so like the texture of the room was something we discussed. Like we had long conversations with Vince, the production designer, until like he found the perfect material to make the like those tiles. um and like the performance, Jason worked with Jonathan for months before we started shooting. So they would reach um like the deeper levels they wanted to, because like we had to shoot it so fast. It was like 14 days, um 14 days in Spokane, 1 day in LA. So
That's
yeah,
when the whole thing?
the whole thing, yeah.
Wow. Super fast.
Yeah, yeah. So like everything, like the editing, the color, the sound, everything was its own element to keep it engaging. Yeah, I wouldn't say that that was difficult, but there were like other challenges, like creating that room in a way that it could move in all directions and could expand and shrink and do all sorts of things. And at the same time, how can we light this space? So like everything had its own challenge, but also like shooting a desert scene in the snow, that was a challenge as well.
For sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So the desert was in Washington?
A part of the desert was in Washington during winter. Was, yeah. There was like so much snow, but yeah,
Wow.
it
I bet that was fun
it
to
was,
figure
yeah,
out.
it was cold and fun.
Yeah, for sure. What is something that you're taking from this film? Because it sounds like it was fast. It came with its own set of challenges. I love that you mentioned that each part of the film, like from the sound to I almost could, I mean, it really the one scene, I would when it gets cold and when it gets warm, I could almost like feel it.
Mm.
What is this something that you're taking that you learned from producing this to your coming work?
Well, I worked with people in this project that I felt intimidated like before, and because I had worked in productions like this in Brazil,
Mm,
but like this was like one of the first productions I was like the main producer here, with people that I like Vince, the production designer. I used to follow his work, and like it just make me feel really good to be working here with these people, because like there is this sense of respect for each other's work. And like there was not one moment that like anybody would, it's working in movies in Hollywood, like people don't overstep each other. It's like
mm,
everyone is doing their job. And if you are a grip and you see the light is wrong, you're gonna tell the gaffer, but you're not gonna move the light.
mm,
Because I come from the industry in Brazil, well, things probably have changed now, but the time I used to produce and act in movies in Brazil, people would step in each other's department.
Is it
So
because there's maybe not a lot of resources, or why do you think so?
I think just, the industry here is so much older,
Mm,
is more mature.
so people kind of like take their role and they just run with it.
But I'm sure it's changed. Last few times we worked in Brazil, yeah, people were not doing that. It's changed.
What made you come from Brazil to film to continue your career here in the US?
So I started as a child actor in Brazil since I was 9, and I did a lot of TV and stage drama, but I didn't think that could be a profession, a career. Uh,
Mm,
so I started working with IT. I started working at Microsoft, and I created a storytelling project for Microsoft. There was a huge success, and they took me to present it to Bill Gates in 2008.
nice.
And I didn't speak English at the time, and I tried to say one sentence in English just to break the ice. And I tried to say that Brazilian beaches are prettier than American beaches. I didn't pronounce that right.
Yes, I could, yes.
Didn't sit well, but I had I had an interpreter, and then he translated properly. Everyone, but after that, like Microsoft loved my work, but they couldn't hire me because of the language, and I was like, I'm never going to lose any other opportunity in my life because of the language. So I moved to Ireland to learn English. Um, that's a interesting decision,
Mm-hmm.
but and then when I was in Ireland, I studied film production, and then I decided that I wanted to pursue that career. Um, yeah, I wanted to pursue that as a career. So I didn't really want to, because like the film industry in Brazil is getting stronger, but it's not, of course, as mature as the US.
Right.
So my goal was always like Hollywood and USA. So I went back to Brazil, and I was like working on my acting career in Brazil. At the time, I was only an actor. I was a producer, but I didn't realize I was good as a producer.
Mm.
Uh, and then I would like uh, travel to the US with my sleeping bag, and I would sell origami on the street to make
Wow.
money. Then I would buy food. I would go to film festivals to like talk to people and make connections. Like out of those connections, I started getting like small gigs in the US, and then I decided to move, for good back in 2018. And yeah, I just love telling stories.
So with this that you just shared, there was a part where you said you didn't believe you were good as a producer. When did
Right.
you start believing you were good as a producer?
Yeah. So Jason, the director of The Abandoned, um, I watched one of his shows was called The Record Keeper. I was a huge fan of it. I was in Brazil at the time, and I really wanted to work with him. So I have this thing that I call inverted networking. It's like
Mm,
I don't do networking with like 200 people. Like I pick one person that I really wanted to work with them, and then like I study them, like, and then I come up
okay.
with like many different ways I could offer them something. And that's what I did with Jason. So I took him to Brazil to do like a film tour and a film workshop. And then I in one of his interviews that I had watched, he mentioned he had his next project. Um, and I was like, I have to be in it. So before he went to Brazil, I did some digging, and I found about this investor that was also his fan.
Mm,
How people don't really share information about investors. So I
right.
only knew like which city this guy lived in Brazil, and that he was bald, and he was a supporter of Palmeiras, a Brazilian soccer team. And then when Jason was and then I took Jason to Brazil. We did the film tour, the film workshop, and I was like like I would translate for him during the workshop. I would translate for him during the film tour, and also like if he wanted to get food, if everything he
Right.
needed
You were
me.
his guide.
So like yeah, so like we created a bond, we created a connection, and then I asked him like towards I think the end of that tour, I asked him like, what's next for you? But I already knew. And then he told me, and I asked him like, okay, how much money do you need for that film? And for that film was $2 million. And then I was like, let's raise that money tomorrow. He's like, okay, this kid. And then I bought flights for us to fly to this guy's town that I didn't know his
Okay.
name. I was just like following. It could go wrong in so many ways.
Totally.
Yeah. And then I found this guy used to go to this denomination, to this church. So like I googled like the church of that denomination with the richest people in the town.
Okay.
And then we went there, and at reception they asked us, "Oh, are you visitors?" I said, "Yeah, we are here to meet the careca, o palmeirense, like the bald guy."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's him." Like, okay. And then I told Jason, "Okay, that's the guy. We are not gonna talk to him. He's gonna see us. He's gonna come and talk to us."
Mm.
And I was like hoping that would work. So the guy looked back and he saw Jason, but he was also a fan of Jason. So he was confused. What are the chances of this
Right.
American director is in Brazil in
At
my
this church.
church? The guy was confused. He came and he asked Jason, "Are you Jason?" And I said, "Yes, and I'm Regis. I'm his manager." And then and
Nice.
then uh and then like we had lunch with the guy, and the guy decided to invest $2 million in that movie. And then like Jason, like we became really good friends, and like he really, he wanted to work with me. The inverted networking worked. uh
Mm-hmm.
and he was the person that told me, "You are a good actor, but you are an excellent producer. You should invest in that." And then
Wow.
that's when I started working more as a producer than an actor.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I think it started with you believing that you could do something,
Oh yeah.
you know? So what's next for you since we're running out of time?
Yeah, we have a couple of projects. There is we have a couple of projects in development. Two of them actually are with this production company in Brazil, Rockset. We are doing a co-production. There is a organized crime. Um, um, I don't know how much I can say, but like there is organized crime action thriller. The
Uh-huh.
other
Uh-huh.
film is a drama family movie. Like it's a really sweet story. So we have these two films that are in development with this production company in Brazil, and then we have other two that are in development here in the US. Thriller, horror, dark comedy.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Tell us all the places and spaces where you can find you and where can people watch The Abandoned and all your other
Sure.
films.
So we are like so excited that The Abandoned is being released by Lionsgate in the US, and it's coming to theaters on July 19 and to digital on July the 30th.
Nice.
And people can find me, like my socials are Regis Terencio. Yeah, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, like everywhere. It's Regis Terencio. And yeah, like for media inquiries, my agent is Walter, but there is his contact everywhere as well.
Perfect.
Mhm.
And so if people wanted to watch The Abandoned, they just go to Lionsgate.
They go to so the theaters are going to be
Oh, it's
announced
gonna be in theaters.
soon. Yeah, it's
Nice.
going to be on theaters on July 19th.
Nice. Get
Yeah,
some popcorn,
and
people.
yeah, let's go. If you live in LA, I'm probably gonna be there the entire week.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this interview. This was super fun. It was great to learn more and see kind of like the behind the scenes of how this movie happened.
Sure, yeah, likewise. I love this conversation. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed my interview. I know I kind of like messed up the his name in the beginning during the intro, but es que está en portugués. And so I wanted to make sure that I said it the way that it's supposed to be said, but at the same time, I also messed it up. But I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any thoughts, leave comments. I know you're going to judge me for this. It's fine. Y bueno, soy Pam Covarrubias y nos vemos durante nuestro próximo café.
Sabrosura pa' ti que